for a couple of reasons. One, I got to sit back and think about what's going on and check in on things happening whenever I wanted to.
Right.
But living in Inglewood, everywhere you go, barbershop, market, restaurant, whatever it is,
yes,
folks are feeding it in,
right.
and I told folks up until Wednesday night when they asked, I'm not interested in going back to the council. That, folks are dealing with that, and the city has issues, and it's being addressed, and let's move on.
Right.
And, some other candidates should step up. If they don't like what Mr. Stevens is doing in District 1 or what Doug Dude's doing, then run for office. Put yourself out there and run for office.
Yeah.
And Thursday, I was at a baseball practice, and for a half hour, it was constant phone calls. Like, look, you got to do this. You know what you can do. We want to, we need to bring this community together. It's divided.
Right.
So I came in Thursday afternoon and said, okay, I'll take out papers on one condition. We sit for this weekend and talk to folks and get a feel for it. And
well,
ultimately, the conversation was, what's in your heart, Danny? Why would you do this?
Yeah, exactly. What exactly is it that you're going to do for District 1 that needs to be done? Something specific.
Well,
there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I could name them.
So you and I don't have enough time. You don't have that.
No, obviously. I want to get a statement.
But this is okay.
That's it.
Oh, wow, a statement. Let me try it like this.
Right.
And this is so you'll learn this. It's not me. I don't do the traditional politician.
That's what I'm
kind of thing.
I got my teeth in Brooklyn on it, so
okay. And we'll talk. My wife's from Harlem. Grew up in Toronto.
Oh, okay. I used to go up there all the time. I want to.
Yeah, I've only eaten in Brooklyn. But anyway, so I'm essentially running because I don't have the confidence that Mr. Dotson or Mr. Stevens can do the things I think the city needs to have done, which is bring people together around an issue, separate the myth and fiction from the facts, and develop a plan of action that we, the collective we, can work on to resolve the problem. And what I've seen is folks who are on the council, don't engage in the dialogue with the community about what they want to do. They do the old politician thing of, I'll tell you what's good for you. I grew up with folks who were statesmen. They talked about the issues, and if they put their position out. But if the majority said and had that argument that was convincing, then they didn't mind representing the will of the people. It wasn't about them. And that's what Inglewood. That's how when I came up in Inglewood, that's what it was. I mean, I grew up. I was in the top first 140 black students to go to the school. So there were service clubs everywhere. There was civic engagement everywhere. And I spent my political career on the Times I was talking to people about the need for them to get involved in their community. You bought a home here. Your children go to school here. You got to be involved. You can't just come home from work and say I'm tired. Who runs this? Who are you leaving your investment to?
And speaking of children, I mean, one of the things, one of the big problems is the residential sound insulation program, and the fact that the particulate matter that gets into houses, the noise that contributes. Are you familiar with
the community benefit agreement?
I am familiar with it.
Okay.
So
you're familiar with the source apportionment study that's currently going on?
I haven't seen what they have done. The last thing I'd seen had been from 2000.
You saw the annual
2012,
report? No. They have.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, June 2000. That was the most recent report. But actually, I don't know if I've seen that report.
I've got enough reports to fill 2 of those containers over there. Let me tell you.
When I moved, my wife was like, "This doesn't go past the threshold." You leave that here.
But I mean, that's one of the things because the children.
That's the issue.
I
mean, when we negotiated the benefit agreement with LAX. The environmental justice, take care, I'll see you tomorrow. The educational and then the economic pieces were all linked. But the environmental piece was the most critically important because highest incidence of asthma and respiratory illness.
It contributes to quite a bit as far as learning problems.
Just living problems, health problems.
Exactly.
Health problems. But here's the deal, and we learned this through the negotiation. The unwillingness to identify the specifics didn't rest only with LAX. It was a federal aviation matter because whatever they agreed to at LAX that the FAA approved, now they had to do at other airports. And they had done.
I understand because I've got reports from all over the world from about the last 70 years with respect to quite a bit of this.
And we're hammering it.
So, and I mean, with being that there's somewhat of a deadline coming up December 2015, but in the meantime, the children continue to suffer. So the fact is, the city council needs to get together to do something.
Well,
and there's a lot not being done.
So let me argue this differently, just for the sake of expanding it.
Right. Okay.
I have many problems. Is that the word? Many concerns about how the program over the life has been implemented in England.
Yes.
I was on the council when it was first created. I was on for 15 years.
Yeah.
I came back, argued and fought with colleagues and with staff about where it was.
Right.
But incrementally, but from a financial standpoint, the way the funds come to the city on a cost reimbursement basis begs the question, is the council ready to put forward some funds from general fund and get the program completed and then wait to get the money back as a strategy. So that's one piece. But more important than that is a great many residents, particularly in District 1, but in other parts of the city, are not in the contour.
Right.
And
well, there's a whole end of block and squared block,
which we did, but that was to accommodate what the federal government would allow, and the federal government would allow. But that was in the original CBA, was end of block. Right, it was end of block. And now it's kind of got changed without anybody to define, as the definition, saying end of block means to this.
It's pitting neighbor against neighbor as a direct result, because some people, they want to make sure they get their house that's going to end up leaving other people out.
If you think that everyone won't get included, yes.
Yeah.
But here's.
But that was the agreement for years, was the end of block.
End of block, undefined. What does end of block mean? And at a point where...
Well, in New York City, the end of the block is pretty easy to find. You walk to it.
Right, and it should be the same here.
Yeah.
But so you make it. You're changing what I want to say to you.
Okay. Well,
because I'm gonna get. But I want to respond to
issue.
Oh yeah, clearly.
That LAWA and FAA and everything.
But I don't think it's resolved.
Right.
Because while the city of Inglewood settled, and actually the cities around LAX settled on what end of the block means from the LAX dynamic, there wasn't a definition within the CBA that is consistent with what Inglewood has.
Okay.
So that's
one. I wasn't aware of that, because I haven't found
the CBA doesn't say
a conflict of definition between the city of Inglewood and LAWA regarding that.
Well, no, because in the block, yes, you have, because remember, in the block in Inglewood goes to some arbitrary. It's not the end of the block. It's
right. Well, see, that's what I'm saying. I didn't know that. I didn't see that anywhere where it said it goes to a certain point.
Right, but Inglewood's definition is it goes
to an actual block.
Right, but Inglewood is saying. So Inglewood says that the block, even though West Boulevard goes from Manchester to 80 to 79.
Right.
In the block stops at 87.
Right.
Because that's apparent. That's consistent with the contour edge.
Yeah.
Maybe a few houses.
Yeah, I've studied those maps.
It doesn't, but it doesn't. What my argument is, not the city's argument, was it didn't have to, because that wasn't the definition in the agreement. Right. But the what's the right word? I got to be polite about the process. But the leverage LAWA used was to say, well, then we could litigate. Essentially, we can litigate this, and during that litigation, we won't give you any money.
Right.
So if you really, and so it was like, okay, well, if you agree to this, we'll pass the money through. But if you're not going to agree to this, then you just get no money. So rather than stop the program, things go forward.
Yeah.
And this is the point I wanted to get back to. Yeah. So that's why I said there's a difference in definition, but not written, but just how it's implemented. That kind of, which hasn't been addressed.
Right.
What I was working on before I even decided to run for mayor, and it got lost in the whole mayoral's campaign, was in, I forget the name of the community, in a Wisconsin community, a neighborhood of residents sued the airport and the FAA under the argument that all of the community was affected by the noise, by vibration,
and pollution.
And won in federal court, such the federal courts directed the airport and the city to insulate all the homes.
Right.
But it wasn't the city that did it.
Right.
The city was not a party. As a matter of fact, the city came in at the point where the judge was handing down the sentence and basically undercut the residents by agreeing to something that almost was whole, but wasn't whole, because the city didn't want to lose its control. That city didn't want to lose its control of the thing. But then the residents did the right thing. They unelected those people and elected folks, and then so they revisit the program that way.
Right, I hear you. Okay.
So my short story is that we were trying to get residents up to speed on how that occurred there. We had talked to the person who's on the city council there, or was, I don't know if she still is, that led